वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की fateh. Thank you for that beautiful summary, Nicola. Thank you, Sankaji, for joining. And thank you to those that have join regularly and those that are joining for the first time as well. As we discussed earlier, this is our special moment, our sacred moment, where we can focus on the divine that's within us, remove all distractions that we have plaguing us, and try and center our mind for these few moments that we have. As the Guru has told us, these few seconds that we spend in the Sangat, these will be the cause of numerous amounts of peace and tranquility and calmness in our life if we reflect on these messages. So let's focus on our mantra now as we dive into the messages of the Gurbani and other spiritual texts and how to attract peace in our own life. The question is, Sankaji, how do we find peace when life is anything but peaceful? And we all know these situations where we face many different tests and stresses in our life. There are many things that will test our patience on a daily basis. Family members may test our patience. Work stresses might break our calm and our silence. An unsupportive boss will create all sorts of tensions for us at work. Even those that we think are closest to us, those that we think we should be responsible for giving us so much joy in our life, they can sometimes be the cause of our unhappiness, our suffering, or what we perceive to be suffering. And then add to all these other things a whole sting of jealousy, dislike, hatred from others. And all these things can make us trapped and unsettled. And what this it then creates a vortex for us. It creates this never-ending tunnel. What the Gurbani has referred to as Bhavasagar, or the frightening ocean. Because all these create immense waves of turbulence. All these create really unstructured, unsettled situations for us, and it's difficult to swim across this. The Bhavasagar. But Guruji is showing us through Gurbani another way, a completely different way. Instead of being enslaved by what others say to us or what they do, we can release this here and now. We can control these emotions and reclaim our own peace. So today, hopefully, together we will learn how the Gurbani invites us to let go of those things that we think are uncontrollable. And this in the West, some people refer to this as the let them, let me approach. And this is something that really resonated with me a lot when I was looking into it. And this isn't just a theory, Sangaji. It's really a way to be present, to be free from all these traumas, unnecessary stresses, and all these external validations that seem to make up what we do and how we decide to do things. So let's reflect for a few seconds on the wisdom of the Shabad of the Gurbani. It's the words of Bhagat Kabir Ji, a very high, exalted saint in the Guru Granth Sahib. And they say this, Nindo, nindo, moko lok nindo, ninda janko khari pyari. They say something really interesting here, Sangatji. They say, slander me, criticize me, curse me, slander me and slander me again. Go ahead. Keep on slandering me. Keep on cursing me. Then they say, Ninda janako khari pyari. Because slander is pleasing to me, this Lord's servant, this humble servant. This is what I like to hear. And further, Kabirji then says, Ninda hamari prem pyar, Ninda hamara kare udhar. I have love and affection for the slanderer, Kabirji says. And in this slander, I find my peace, my salvation. Udhar. So when we focus on this, Sangaji, these words will sound really conflicting, really confusing, almost paradoxical, because we're thinking, well, why would anybody want to be slandered? Who likes slander? Yeah, Guruji is calling the slanderer a friend. They're calling them the savior. So what are we being taught here? What's the explanation? The essence is this, Sangaji, that truly our inner peace doesn't have to be dependent on what other people do or say. And by letting them speak, by letting them be, by letting other people who we perceive and let cause our harm, letting them do whatever they're doing without reacting to it, in the end, our mind will stay light, our heart will open, and we'll no longer be affected by any of their validations or criticisms. And this is the let them, let me concept. So let them, the freedom of allowing. In modern words, this let them theory is all about when someone criticizes you, ignores you, gossips about you, provokes you. Instead of fighting, you just say let them. Why? Because their actions are their karma alone. It's for them to experience and create their karma however they wish to please. We've got no say on how anybody interprets their own decisions and reactions, right? But we do have a control about how we determine and interpret and act upon our thoughts and our perceptions. We cannot change anybody else's mind or heal any of their emotional histories or traumas that they've been through. But the thing is, when we resist, we get entangled in whatever world that they've created for themselves. But by allowing, we stay free. We become free. And this is why Guruji, Kabirji here is repeating, slander me, curse me, curse me. This isn't a weakness. It's a sign of their strength. It's saying, your words will not poison my spirit. I refuse to micromanage every single emotion around me. So I'm not going to be tiptoeing around all the little things that you're doing and saying to me. And the thing is, Sangaji, we might get these from multiple people in our life, even random interactions that we'll have on the street. Doesn't have to be someone that's really close to us. Could be absolutely anyone. But the spiritualists have worked out a way to actually head off these things before it even comes to you. And in this, we're saying, I refuse to micromanage. I refuse to be trapped in every single emotion around me. Not every single thing requires my thought and my interpretation. I will not live as a prisoner to other people's behaviors. When we do this, Sangaji, we step into what really Guru Nanak was explaining to us by the meaning of hukam. This is aligning with what is, not what we wish it to be, not what others wish it to be for us. And there are many people that will try and exert their own validations onto you, Sangaji, their own interpretations onto you, and they're stuck in the vortex of their own mind. There are a couple of people that I've encountered, Sangaji, that take pride in their own anger. They feel that if their anger cannot be matched by anybody else, and they take pride in it. And then they make you the victim of their anger just to try and show how angry they can get and how then they can control their anger or come back to normal later on. No, Sangaji, this is not the path. The path is to actually realize how we can actually manage those emotions ourselves so we're not affected by all those things around us. This then moves on to let me. Turning the lens, turning your sight, your gaze inwards. Once we let them be, the Guru then invites us to say, look inside you, look internally, let me. This is not a phrase of ego. This is about saying that you're going deep into your inner self, your true self, realizing who and what you really are. Let me focus on what's in my control. Sangaji, when we realize that's actually very little in our control, but what we can control will have a massive impact. So we can control our reactions. Let me choose peace over a trauma-related reaction. Let me respond with compassion, not fury. Let me respond with forgiveness, not hatred. Let me respond with love and not fear. All of these, Sangaji, have immense impacts on our karma. People may say that your karma won't change, but we can change this moment, here and now, when we change our perception about something. And this is where we say, Guru ki mat tu le aane. How we started today's discourse. Take on the mata, the intelligence, the voice of the Guru, and change your perceptions based on that. See everything through the filter of the Guru itself, through the filter of the Sangat itself. And in doing so, we can change our present. That present change will then affect our future interactions, our future outcomes, what happens in the future. In that, we've changed our karma, Sangatji. We've changed our direction. My brother Baimandeep Singh, who leads discourses here, says a really beautiful line, and he says this, that even if a ship changes its course by 1 degree, it will end up in a completely different direction. In the same way, if we take on some of these simple messages of the Sangat, we will end up in a completely different direction. I was following a car once, and it had a bumper sticker saying, heading in the wrong direction, God allows U-turns. It's the same way we can change our perception each and every moment if we choose to. And this is why Guruji, Kabirji is saying, Nindo, Nindo, Moko, Lok, Nindo. And then later on, Ninda, Hamra, Kare, Udhar. That slander me, I don't care. Keep on slandering. Because this slander is going to be my salvation. So why salvation here? It's really interesting, but this salvation Kabirji refers to is because this criticism, this conflict will force us to go inwards. And they make us reveal things about ourselves that we didn't even realize, what our triggers are. It will expose our ego. It will help us see where we still need to grow. And in doing so, Kabirji is saying that the slanderer unknowingly has become my teacher. That's why they're my savior. If we unpack this whole let me theory, if we unpack what it means to go inside of us, really it's all about pausing before any reaction. And then what's interesting is that if we reflect on the Shabads of the Gurbani, those that have read Shabads or even translations within it, the Shabads are the words of the Gurbani, the hymns of the Gurbani that have been given to us by the Gurus. And when we unpack those, there's a word that comes quite continuously, and that is rahau. Rahau means to pause. But what Guruji is saying here is telling us to take a break, to stop, stay present, think, reflect, breathe. So when we're saying let me, we are taking that moment of rahau. We're taking that moment of pause. And in that moment of pause, we can ask ourselves some really simple questions. Who do I want to be in this moment? And if you're unsure, because normally in highly tense situations, our mind is frazzled with all sorts of things going around, all sorts of past emotions, anger, frustrations, all sorts of things are coming to the forefront. So there, Guru ki mat tu le aane, taking on the mat, the intelligence, the teachings, the experience of the Guru. We think, how would the Guru respond in this situation? How can I keep the divine alive within me in this moment? What would the Sangha do? Those that we inspire to be, what would they do in this situation? As Guru Bani says, Rak rak charan tare vichari. Before we take any step, every step we take, do that with complete contemplation, with complete awareness. What would the Guru do in this state? What would the Sangha do in this situation? If we do this, Sangaji, this is the path to salvation. This is the path to liberation. This is the path to finding that peace within our life. So how do we free ourselves from this karma? Why do we get so affected? And we've touched upon this a few times already, but we carry old hurts around, old regrets and memories. And when we're triggered, really, really quickly, these start to rise like smoke. And we start responding based on things that have happened to us in the past or how we responded in the past. All of these things, every single moment, every single thought that we've ever had gets recorded on our soul. It creates what's known as a mental impression, a karmic impression. As Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, "Kar kar karna likh le jao, aap hi beej aap hi khao, nanak hukmi aavo jao." Each and every moment, kar kar karna likh le jao. Every single moment, every single thought gets written on our soul. It's an experience that we've etched. And these experiences start coming up and creating our karma. So then, wherever we've previously programmed will start coming out and manifesting. In the same way, Sangaji, any thoughts, any desires, anything like that will start manifesting in our reality. Just like we have a search history on our I've said this before, so when you go and you do a search online or you're thinking about something and you look for something, you start getting related ads popping up in your search history on your social media posts. In the same way, we have a spiritual history, a mental history. These then start recreating in our reality as well. So if we're filling this mental history again and again with ideas of hurt, with regret, with emotions, with turmoil, and all these different memories and perceptions, these are the things that are going to come back to us at the time that we need it. In these crucial moments. But Guruji is saying that reprogram that, change the input, change it with the message that you're getting from the Sangha itself. We can forgive, we can completely change the direction of our life by doing this. As the Gurbani says, Pichale augan baksle prabh aage marg paave. This is a cry, this is a plea to the divine that please forget my past mistakes and place me on your path. But what this really is, Sangaji, is telling us that every single breath is new. Sahib mera neetanawa sada sada datar. My divine is new and recreating themselves in each and every moment. And in this state, every single moment is an opportunity to recreate who we are, what we are. We're not our yesterday. We're not our last month. We're not our years before. The Guru asks us to forgive, to release, to walk forward, to be light, to get rid of that baggage, that heaviness. And we could do that each and every moment with any single decision that we make here and now. And in each and every situation that you face yourself. When we do this, Sangaji, then we come to the next stage. We can come to the place where we're beyond praise and blame. We get to that place of true stability. Peace is lost when we crave other people's validations, when we look for our peace in other people's words or their appreciations. But the Gurbani has told us, "Na nindya ne ustat jaka." That person that's not swayed by slander or praise, that remains unaffected by joy and sorrow or honor and dishonor, they're the ones who have truly understood this path of liberation. They're the ones who we will say are fully realized. So this let them mindset is quite simple. If they praise you, let them. If they criticize you, equally let them. Your actions must be anchored in truth, not looking for applause in others. What the Gurbani is telling us is something really empowering. It's life-changing. It's telling us that Any conflict will only create more tensions and conflicts. For this reason, go back into silence. Don't even try and call out some of these people publicly or some of these reactions publicly, because this will only feed their ego. It will inflate even more tensions. A better strategy is to protect your peace quietly and meaningfully. Be still and go back into that ahau to pause. Now, this is really contrary to everything that we even know, because we think we need to stand up for ourselves, we need to do X, Y, and Z. And the truth of the matter is, Sangaji, but when we acting in this way, then we are standing up for ourselves because we're protecting our peace. This is not a defeat. No, not in any sense of the word. This is protecting who and what we are, protecting our heart, guiding ourselves to make sure that we're not creating all sorts of tensions and perceptions for our future. And this is where Guru Nanak Dev Ji has said that, look, if I speak, people won't understand what I'm saying. But even if I stay silent, they call me a madman. And the thing is, Sangaji, this is at odds with what we know, odds with what the world is. But if you look around us, everybody else is still in the same tension. So let's try something that the Guru is telling us to do, something differently. Just because what the world is doing doesn't act like that, just because there's an expectation to act in a certain way or be a certain way, none of this is causing any peace. It's creating even more turmoil and tensions. The Guru says, try something else. Protect your peace meaningfully, quietly, be still and pause. And quite honestly, Sangaji, this is not going to downplay it that this is something easy. It takes a lot of what we say, it takes a lot of abhyas, of practice. You need to create those habits in a life one at a time. So take one trait, one attribute, one at a time, and work on that before moving on to the next one. And it takes time, but you will notice the immense peace this brings to your life. For the past couple of years, quite honestly, I've been stuck in this very situation myself, where people close to you might try and exert their own tensions and aggressions towards you, and you have no idea where it's come from. And mixed with emotions and past histories, you find yourself retaliating back, and only to feel completely miserable for days afterwards. And then you make everybody else miserable around you equally. You just don't understand why you're reacting in a certain way. And then, after a time, I started noticing, and even now, I started noticing that tensions in your body, and you're not feeling calm, and you're just going over these same things again and again. But then I've started to consciously practice these two concepts of let them and let me in my life. Up to recently, even so often, they would still try and push your buttons. But I noticed that even though the anger was intensifying, I was consciously not engaging. And they're drowning in their own perceptions. Nindak doobe hum utre par, as Kabir Ji says, that those that slander would then drown in their own woe and their sorrows and their negative impressions. But you're swimming across this ocean. They were drowning in their perceptions where I was healing. And I'm continuing to strive to maintain that peace. And I'm not there yet. But practicing this has given me a lot of foundation to be able to go deeper into myself and to make that Simran and the Seva and all that mean so much more to me. So I can't say that I don't have moments of these frustrations, but I consciously fall back into the message of the Sangat and reflect on the words of the Gurbani and go back into that meditation practice and that spiritual discipline. Anything will be short-lived without that, Sangatji. So we can try and focus on these things with our mind and all that, but the meditation, our Simran, our spiritual discipline is what's going to reclaim our calm. And this is only possible, Sangatji, when we actually realize what is going on. Because we sometimes don't actually realize that this is actually a thing, that people are taking our energy away, and we don't realize that actually we can change the calmness in our life by just reprogramming it. And then taking the time and also the strength to change our own perceptions and our projections of things. And interestingly, Sangaji, this doesn't also mean cutting off the other person. It means being more aware of what projections they're trying to put towards you. And it's learning to swerve it before you get caught in their world of validations. And then what I've started to notice now, that our conversations are becoming more meaningful, the more loving, the more compassionate, because you're not retreating back into those tensions again. And in this way, Sangaji, staying away from conflict will take immense strength, immense courage. But it is a sign of a weakness when we react to these things. But it's a sign of significant strength when we completely disengage. And this is where we come to the stage of where you're not affected by praise or blame. It doesn't mean the things around us are not happening. It means that we've changed our perception so that it no longer affects us. Guru Arjan Dev Ji sat on a hot plate. They weren't affected by the things happening around them. It was still happening to them. But they weren't affected by everything around them. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, the ninth Guru, went through immense tortures and immense pains, but they were unaffected by the pleasures and pains that they were experiencing at the time. Completely still in their mind, nor any words of hatred, but more messages of love. And this is how we move into falling into Saj, into Anand. When we control, forgive, and come to terms with that path, we be more aligned to who and what we really are. We find that contentment, that natural calm within ourselves, Sangaji. And we can do this in the here and now. Hasandya, Kalandya, Panandya, Kavandya, Vicho Hove Mukta. So while laughing and playing and dressing and eating, going about your daily life, you remain in this peace, you remain in this liberation, you remain in this state. So in this way, peace is not an end of life thing. It can be here, right now. It's for you to take right here now. It's when we've uncluttered that mind and the soul's resting in the vibration of the divine, the Shabad, that we find that peace. We find that peace in our life. I just want to say a message here that some people may be thinking, well, does that mean I have to stay in an abusive relationship or an abusive situation? The let me doesn't mean that this is what you do. It doesn't mean that where you stay you stay with any threat to your life or even to your mental health, where you're being abused mentally or physically. But it's those everyday reactions, those everyday interactions to things that have a deeper impact and effect on us. These things that we can change. But if you are in any risk, seek help, do seek help. So in these words, here's a practical summary. Pause and notice. When triggered, silently say, let them. Do not fight every wave. I'm not going to engage in every single situation. Turn within and ask. Let's practice that let me. Am I going to respond in the most wisest way possible? What would my Guru, what would my Hazur, what would my Murshid, what would my Peer, what would my Saint, what would the Sangat say in this situation? Increase your spiritual practice, your Simran, your meditation, your manifestations, whatever you do in the day, but increase it by 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you can do, because this is what's going to produce your stability at the end. And throughout the day, anchor your breath in the divine name. One deep breath, one silent moment, but focus on that mantra, just like we did earlier today. In these tense moments, place your attention on the divine within us. Reduce all that emotional hijacking. Allow yourself to come to some clarity. Keep your mind active in other things, in the Sangat and Seva. Surround yourself with those positive company. That service, that's going to strengthen you. That's going to remove those frustrations. And nightly, here's an idea. Before we go to sleep, let's just think about those things that we could have reacted differently. Those things that we could change. Make a mental impression of those things, how we can change those things. See if you can capture those controlling thoughts that are dominating who and what you really are, and then putting some attention to actually changing that direction. When we capture those 3 or 4, maybe it doesn't have to be more than that, those 3 or 4 dominating thoughts, the rest will fall into line. And in the end, Sangatji, Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, Sacho ore sabko, upar sach achar. Truth is high, but higher than this is truthful living. It's practicing this in our life. It's experiencing this in life. It's changing that trajectory for us. And then that will then change for other people. This let them theory is nothing new. It's a timeless wisdom. Release what's not yours. Realign yourself to your true self. And then rejoice in the words of the Shabad of the divine. In saying this, Sangatji, I've remembered some beautiful messages from Babaji Swan Singh Ji. And they were speaking in the context of a spiritual practice. That often when we meditating or we end up in a Sangat or we're getting more acquainted with things, we start looking at other people's practices. Let them works in that situation as well. Where the subtle ego will start coming in and start looking at other people with a bit of judgment sometimes. Why are they doing things in a certain way? Why are they practicing things in a certain way? But Babaji, their whole outset was about love. They had immense love and they made everybody else feel loved as well. And our job is, those that are inspired by their message, is to emanate that same love that Babaji showed. And what Babaji would say very simply in a message. Sometimes they wouldn't quote rule and verse to you. They'll say things very, very simply. And they said this, that if you're driving your car, and if your attention starts going on the cars coming on the opposite side of the road, what will happen? Very simply, you'll have an accident, there'll be a collision. In the same way we start focusing our attention on everybody else around us, when we start focusing on other people's spiritual practices, when we start focusing on everybody else's validations, we're the ones who are going to collide and have an accident. But if we stay focused on our own thoughts, on our own path, on how we're going to react to certain situations, then we've regained our freedom, we've regained our own mental clarity. We're not going to be so affected if things don't happen around us the way we think it should happen. So Babaji is saying, reclaim your mental clarity, focus on your own direction, focus on your own peace within us, because then only then are we responsible for our own peace. So we're saying, in terms of karma, what we can control, what we can't control. We can control what we're thinking about. We can control where we put our energy. And Babaji is saying, focus on that road. Do not let anybody hijack your emotions, because inside you is a purity, is an inherent peace, a peace that we can all experience if we truly wish to experience it. And with these words, Sangatji, I'll beg your forgiveness. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh. So Sangatji, usually we will have a few other members of the Sangha together today who will share music and poetry. At the moment, we just had a very successful retreat in London, in Lincoln, in the UK. Following this, a number of members have actually gone to Egypt to do another retreat, and they have many different events happening in Egypt at the moment now. And one of our brothers, Flowing River, who you will know, is an incredible poet. And with his blessings and his permission, I asked if I could share one of his poems today before we end with final prayers and we say our final farewells. So this poem is called Ik Oankar. Nicola started with the Mool Mantra, focusing on the Ik Oankar. Ik Oankar is the oneness, this one energy, the manifested and unmanifested energy of the divine that's throughout this whole universe and within us all. Oankar is the primal sound, that sound that's come from that silence of the divine, and that sound that's throughout this whole universe and flowing through each and every one of us that makes us connected. Guru Nanak Dev Ji says that this sound, this primal sound is oneness. And when we meditate and we focus on that attention on that one, we become one. When we become one, it means reducing and forgetting about all the different labels that we have, my way, your way, my religion, your religion. When we go to that last stage of complete liberation, even these labels we have to let go, Sangatji. These identities we have to let go. As Guru Gobind Singh Ji says, "Chakra chehna baran jatar patan energy," that the divine has no image, no mark, no family lineage, no caste, no creed, no color, no culture. Ruparanga Rekapeko Kahana Sakatke. No one can say the true form of the divine, then Nirankar before all forms, yet take every single form, and that all of that's encompassed within Ikwankar. So I'd like to share this small poem that Flowing has given us, and then we'll say our final farewells. Ikoankar, one primal energy that pervades all of life, the supreme vehicle that pulls you out of this nightmare and into a serene stream of dreams of the divine, to realign the mind, to find that everything it was grasping to was nothing at all. Ikoankar gives that strength to the devotee to stand tall amidst Maya, whom scratches and claws, beckoning the angels to fall, but Ikoankar returns all back to the one vibration, so our thoughts, words, and actions reflect the most highest immaculate imagination, to transcend the sensations of pain and suffering. And no bliss is all there ever was, and forever shall be. Chant the holy words with reverence in your heart, to subside the darkest of the dark, the blanket of the night that attempts to hide your light. Sing these words with loving devotion, to reclaim your might. Whisper these words with tender surrender, to attune to the divine will, until every cell of your being vibrates to the tune of the one, until every follicle lives for the Creator, and all of your obstacles become your emancipator. For the Lord of Light protects his devotees, gifting peace and prosperity, asking for nothing in return except your unquenchable love. Ik Oankar allows one to rise above the countless ideas, concepts, and stories that have us in the push and pull between running from pain and obtaining glory. So set aside your ego and let go to the flow of words that leave your lips, losing yourself as the sun and moon eclipse, to become one with the one who gave you breath. For in our penultimate death, we shall find everlasting life and eternal rest. Ik Oankar was before there was a before, and will remain after the last chapter. It's all things manifest and unmanifest. Call forth from the center of your chest, in the twilight of the ambrosial hours, to raise your spirit as tall as a tower. Rise to the skies and touch heaven's gates, where your divine reflection patiently awaits. Rise to the skies and touch heaven's gates, where your divine reflection patiently awaits. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you, Sangat Ji. Thank you, Divine, for blessing us with this opportunity for Sangat. May we reflect on these messages in our life. May we bring these changes in our life so we can find that inherent peace, find that one divine, find you within us all. May we always live in your center, in your moment, in your heart. And may we reflect this love to each and every person that we encounter. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you, Sangat Ji, for your time and for giving our life some value. We'll be here on Tuesday and Thursday this week at 7:30 London time for more mantra meditation and kirtan, and then next Sunday again for another beautiful discourse. But with these words now, I beg your forgiveness. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you.